Welcome to another amazing episode of your favorite podcast ever, The Assumption Effect, with myself, Nikki, and Flossie. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that I've been just waiting to talk about because it's one of my favorites, and I love talking to people about this, but it's really walking the line, desires versus reality, which is your 3D, right? Your 3D reality. So, Flossie, I don't know about you, but I have a lot of people that struggle between being completely delusional or delulu or being way too logical.
Yeah, same here. I get quite a few people that I think one of the biggest phrases that I hear is, how am I supposed to believe that when my life isn't like that?
Yeah,
And,
that's
and
probably
then
what
and then I almost feel like there's silence where and I wish I could play the cricket background sound. Because every time I hear a phrase like that, like how am I supposed, how can I affirm that when my 3D reality isn't like that? Or I can't believe that. That's not the way things are. And it's like sometimes I felt like saying, this is like literally the basis of manifestation
I'm.
is that your 3D reality doesn't appear the way that you want it to be, period, which is why you're affirming and persisting for something new. Because if you already had that and you already had what you wanted, you wouldn't probably have to affirm for it.
Right. Like that's the whole reason you're affirming. So, there's a lot of misconception out there and we've talked about it before, but you can't just affirm, oh, I have $1 million and then keep checking your bank account or, go spending your money like you have that. And then come cry to us and say, well, I affirmed for 2 hours or 3 days or a week or a month and I haven't seen it yet. We've said it before, we'll say it again. Can it happen instantly? Yes. We'll say that every time. But more often than not, it's going to happen when you decide and when you have successfully changed your dominant thoughts and assumptions. And because you don't have it yet, I can almost guarantee you your dominant thoughts and assumptions are not there where they're supposed to be, which is why you're not seeing it instantaneously. This is a lifestyle. It's not like Flossie and I started out and snapped our fingers and things appeared. That happened later on over time as we developed into this new overall powerful mindset.
And, we live in the 3D reality. And so while you're consciously manifesting, you need to learn how to navigate that. And so, is your 3D reality going to instantly conform? It could, as I agree with what Nikki said. It oftentimes is when you've had enough repetition of thought that your mind starts to have a buy-in that this new thought could possibly be true, and it goes to subconscious to manifest. Now, you don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe wholeheartedly that you're going to get it. This isn't law of attraction, but your mind starts to have a buy-in because you've done enough repetition. And there's people who've been affirming through anxiety and tears and don't believe that they're going to get it, but they're still affirming, and they've done enough for their mind to have the buy-in, that part of their mind that has the buy-in. It's not necessarily your entire mind. It's the part that does the buy-in, which is like, we've got multiple aspects of our brain and our mind and how we think. But at any rate, the real purpose of this video is to discuss you're living in a duality in a way. You have what you want in your head, but the 3D reality reflects something different. And then you just have to learn how to navigate the 3D while it hasn't conformed. And we have people say things like, well, I'm starting to miss my specific person. And the meaning that I assign to that is like when I miss my SP misses me, so if I miss him, he must miss me. And, no offense to anybody, but I kind of feel like that way of thinking just reaffirms that you don't have what you want. Why would your SP miss you if you were together? If your dominant thought is you guys are together and you're thinking from the end, which is a relationship, why would you encourage thought that SP misses you unless it's literally because they can't stand to be away from you and they're at work, and if they're away from you for 8 hours, they miss you.
Right. And, when it comes to your mental diet and you start missing your SP, you're like, well, they always miss me when we're not together, implying that you are together most of the time. So you really have to learn to navigate the 3D by self-soothing your mental diet. Your intentions are for manifesting. Your mental diet is to keep you at like a baseline, in my opinion. So I have said to myself some ridiculous things that I would never believe in a million years. for my mental diet just to get myself back to a place of peace or calm. And the idea is so that you don't go into a spiral, so you don't go into a way of negative thinking, so you can correct those thoughts when they come in, so it becomes autopilot later. Essentially, you're gaslighting yourself, but that's fine because you're doing it to yourself, not somebody else, and it's making your reality conform and it's making you have more positive thoughts and it's a better outcome. But the biggest ticket here is I'll get people that come to me and they're like, and we've talked about this. We've talked about this on a podcast before, but the whole delusional thing where I'm going to wear a wedding ring and, send out wedding invites, or I'm going to start racking up credit cards because I know I'm going to have that $1 million. That's not what living in the end is, okay? So navigating the fine line between 3D and 4D, which is your desired reality, you live your life in the 3D. The same way. Don't ask us, what do I do with my hands? You do the same thing you were doing before you knew about manifestation, before you're consciously awake. You go to work, you pay your bills, you hang out with your friends, but you're going to be more consciously aware of your reactions, your behavior, how you're presenting yourself. Those are big, big keys in this because I didn't realize until I was consciously awake, like how negative I was, how much I'd always turn something into this negative or unfavorable circumstance just because my mindset sucked, right? Like I'd be out friends at dinner with my friends and maybe their spouse was with them. Oh, well, my SP isn't here. Instead, enjoy the time. Don't worry about the manifestation while you're living your life. You want to walk through your reality like you did before. Just be more consciously aware of how you're behaving, how you're reacting. Be an adult, basically. Be a responsible adult, whatever that is to you.
Well, and Nikki was touching on a couple of things earlier, like, how, you some people feel like they're gaslighting themselves, and maybe that's like what they're doing by being quote unquote delulu. I say that there's another way to look at it that might make sense to other people than what Nikki's explanation was, which is, use your logical mind in your favor. If your logical mind is fighting you tooth and nail to be like, well, I'm not rich, so how can I affirm that I have tons of money and think like I do? Or my SP is like, we're literally no contact. How can I affirm for that when the 3D is showing me like literally the polar opposite and my mind is fighting me all the way? Well, use your logical mind in another way, which is, okay, my logical way of looking at that would be, I know what manifestation is. Manifestation is me bringing something tangible and experienceable into my 3D reality based on my dominant thought on that topic. And so whatever my dominant thought on that topic is going to be literally what I experience. So if I'm tired of being poor or not having my SP, I'm literally just going to affirm and persist, change my dominant thought, and my 3D reality is going to conform. And so I'm going to think things that are not true in this moment, but that is what is going to make it true for me. That is what is going to make my 3D reality conform. So I know I'm saying things that aren't true, but I don't have to worry about that because that's how the 3D reality conforms. And so remind yourself of that when your brain wants to be like, oh, that shit's not true. You're broke as fuck. Or, oh, like, that man's not even looking at you or that girl's not even looking at you. Throw those thoughts in the trash where they belong. Like, get control over your own mind about how you're going to perceive things. When you go from the perspective that this is what I need to do in order to manifest, that is a way for some people that it becomes easier because they're like, oh, yeah, this is how I manifest. I'm just doing this to manifest this.
Exactly. And also another way, Flossie and I have always been pretty logical people. And I like to use logic to my benefit if I can't wrap my head around it, just like Flossie said. But another thing that I do is I find logical things that would make my manifestation true. So, for example, circumstances with my SP used to not be favorable, or maybe yours isn't either. Maybe there's a third party situation, cheating, or past history in relationships. You can remind yourself that people can change. During your mental diet, this isn't, oh, he's changing because that doesn't imply living in the end. Remember, your intention is living in the end. But with your mental diet, when you're thinking about it, and you're going down that rabbit hole and like, oh, this will never work because he's always been this way. You need to come back. Come back to the friendship bridge over here, okay, where we're at. Come back to, but he can change because other people change. Use logic in your favor. So find something, a situation, a story, a movie even, or a friend or something that's happened to somebody else and be like, if they can do it, I can do it. Or if that could happen to that person, it can happen to me too. You can't live in this perpetual victim mentality where you're just like, oh, everybody's getting it but me. You need to flip the script and the perspective about it and be like, well, if they can get it, I can get it too. Because why can't you? Even if you didn't know about manifesting, why couldn't you? What makes you different, so different than them? Oh, they're lucky. That's because you assume they're lucky. Assume you're lucky. How did they get those things? Use logic to your advantage. How does Sally Sue over there get her SP and her money and all these things? She's living her best life. And your dominant thought and assumption about Sally Sue, she's lucky. Men just flock to her. She's always been successful, or she knows what she's doing. Guess what? You can manifest for yourself because you have that assumption about that woman because that's your logical assumption about that person. I'm successful. I'm lucky. Men and women flock to me. I've always been great at business. I am very intelligent. I'm knowledgeable. I know everything I need to know to succeed. You need to look at the world a different way, not just gimme, 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 because I need this now. Look at things around you. What are your assumptions about those things? Success, love, money, through the eyes of other people. Because as a person that gives a ton of people advice every single day, and not just manifestation, but Flossie knows too, because everybody loves to come to us for advice, even friends, family, whatever. Think about the advice you give your friends or your family. Take your own freaking advice, turn it into a manifestation. Look at that dog. People on the podcast can't see it, but that hair, oh my God, look at it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
just gave her a bath, so she's all excited because her ponytail's out, and so I can scratch her whole entire head, and that's why she just keeps sticking her head back up and being in little doggy heaven because she wants me to scratch her.
Anyway, I'm sorry, that was a long tangent on that, but
No, but I mean it makes total sense, and I think it's some of what people need to hear. I mean, your 3D reality may not immediately reflect back to you the experience that you want to have or what you are manifesting. Can it happen? We're going to say before again a million times over. Yes, your 3D reality can literally conform instantly. You can start affirming for your SP and they could show the fuck up at your house. But if you are not that person that it is instantaneous, like snapping your finger in that moment, stop being so desperate for your manifestation. For one, that you're just like won't live a life outside that because you do want to live some life and enjoy your life. You don't need to be the old cat lady clinging to grandma's sweater, not having anything else to do but sit there and affirm. But having said that, your 3D reality may not immediately reflect back to you your desire that you have started affirming for. And so stop looking at it and being like, well, it's never going to come because I'm not seeing it, or I'm going to think all these negative thoughts all the time about what it is that I'm manifesting. No, that's not thinking from the end, living from the end. It's you've got to affirm and persist with that one part of your mind while you recognize with the other that the 3D reality hasn't conformed. It will because it must, but at the same time, I'm just going to continue to push ahead, even if I don't enjoy every aspect about my life right now.
right, find things you do enjoy. And that's another thing. A lot of people get into this, they get obsessed with manifestation or their desire in general, and they forget how to just live. Or maybe they didn't know how to before, but this is prime time to do it. Because guess what? Watching a movie, going out with your girlfriends or your guy friends or whatever, doing things to live your life, going on vacation, is not wasted time that you could be using affirming. Because a lot of people are like, oh my God, well, I don't do this because I could be using that time and energy to affirm. Girl, we tell you how often to affirm. And I'm not going to repeat it here. Go back to other videos. Live your damn life. Stop obsessing. Just do it. Just live your life. That's all you got to do. We could go on and on and on about this. So, the fine line between desire and reality. Live your life in the reality. The desires are in your mind. You're projecting those outwards. You're living in the end up here in your head. People in the podcast can't see me pointing in my head. And you're living your life. And you know it's coming. Just like you know your DoorDash is on the way. Just like you know Amazon's on the way. Just like
You
you know
don't have to
whatever.
you don't have to put your entire life on hold. A lot of people not only they put their life on hold, but they're like, what am I supposed to do? Like I have to make a decision or I have all this stuff happening in the 3D. You can continue to firm and persist while you do whatever you need to do in the 3D. Like if you need to work while you're manifesting money, then you go to work while you're manifesting money. There's plenty of people who have won the lottery. They don't necessarily get a check instantaneously cut to them that day for $500 million. A lot of times there's a process. In some states you form a trust and have it go to a trust. So they're millionaires. They've cashed in that lottery ticket. They just haven't received the money. And so, you can be wealthy and still be like, yeah, I'm just wrapping this up. Think of it as like I'm just wrapping it up because my life is changing. It's in the process of changing. And just do whatever you need to do in the 3D to make it in the 3D. If you need to go to the food bank, go to the food bank
Right.
while you
Don't
continue to
ask
affirm and persist.
and don't ask everybody or tell everybody, especially as coaches and manifestation buddies, every little aspect of your life or what happened today or what should I do with this. If you have to ask, it's not inspired action. You don't have to do anything. Live like you normally would.
Oh, and don't forget, as Nikki was saying, when you're looking at things and you're like, this person did it, and so I could do it too. Yeah, use success stories for that. Look at the success stories. When you see success stories, don't take that as a negative. Be like, this person did that, which means, of course, I can too. Use it as a motivator.
Exactly.
I mean, even Nikki and I were doing that at one point, many, many, many years ago, but we
Still
were
do. I still do. I still look at other people's success stories and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm proud of them. I'm excited for them because
absolutely.
but I already know it works because been doing it for years. But and it amps me up though because I just know I'm like, man, because sometimes people come up with stuff out of the woodworks, don't they? Like you've never even heard of that thing, and it's just like, oh my God, like it's another thing I can manifest that I never thought about because we go through our everyday lives, and Flossie and I say it to each other all the time. Why didn't I manifest that? Because we get stuck in the logical world sometimes.
Mhm.
I'll call Flossie. I lost something. Can't find my glasses. Manifest them, Nikki. What are you doing? Like, why are you going around your house looking for them? Just,
Those are just literally facts. I was looking for something the other day and I'm like, why am I even looking for this? This is ridiculous.
well, I was looking for my cell phone outside. I thought it fell in my pocket when I was walking. I was looking for it with the flashlight from my own cell phone. And I turned to Chris and said, I manifested my cell phone right here in my hand. I swear it wasn't here.
That's crazy.
Anyway, have fun. Enjoy your life. Make it fun.
It's
YOLO,
supposed to be fun.
right? I said YOLO.
Man, YOLO. YOLO, bro. Hey, it's supposed to be fun. Manifest what you want, but enjoy life while you're doing it. And then don't get caught up in the logic of why, well, it's not here. Well, it's going to be. Just keep persisting and thinking as if you have it. Use that logical mind to your benefit if you can.
Exactly. We love you guys. We'll see you on the next podcast.
Till then, talk to you later. Bye.